This episode of Comics for Fun and Profit is brought to you by Threadless. More importantly, the Comics Fun Profit shop on Threadless at comicsfunprofit.threadless.com, where you can find, about half a dozen different designs, plenty of Comics for Fun and Profit themed merch. If you just want a t-shirt, you're good, and if you want sweatshirts or other swaggy items, and you can get anything. Phone cases, shower curtains. It runs the gamut. Skateboards, I think. So check that out. We've already sold several. We're excited about the fact that the folks that want to support us in this way are able to and wear our merch out in the real world. That's pretty exciting stuff. So get your Comics for Fun and Profit branded items at comicsfunprofit.threadless.com.
Aloha! It's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing illustrator Kelly McMahon and writer Matt Groom. Now, they are here to promote their new Kickstarter, Bad Blood. Now, Bad Blood is a game playing cards and a murder mystery game. Now, this Kickstarter campaign launches on September 19th and run probably end around October 19th. Kelly and Matt, welcome to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello, thank you for having us.
Well, thank you very much. And Matt, thank you very much for coming back on. And also, too, I need to say, as Pierre is walking out of your room, I need to say hello to Mr. Handsome, your cat, Kelly.
The best boy.
And so, listeners, if you hear a little meowing in the background, because it's an audio podcast, of course, that is Pierre in the background. So, I just want to start jumping right in. I just want to go over some of Kelly's previous works. Now, Kelly, I got some of the information off of your website, and a little bit later on, I'm going to ask you to promote your website. Okay. So now, according to your website, you are also a graphic designer. Your work she's known for her minimalist style, composed of sophisticated vector shapes, and bold colors. She also did a variant cover for the first issue of Radiant Pink. Some of her works can be seen in the Gallery 1988 and Heroes Complex Gallery in LA. And in 2021, she ran a successful Kickstarter campaign called Imperium. Now it was a deck of 52 playing cards. And I've seen the design on your website. I saw some, and let me rephrase that. I know someone did a YouTube review on it. And They were showing the cards. It was beautifully designed.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
They're beautifully designed. And what it is that it was celebrating a world of female rulers and their tales of victory. Kelly, like I said, I'm going to let you promote your website. But I have to say, when I was looking through your portfolio on your website, I saw, and this is, I believe, one of your works that you're doing at Gallery 88 in LA. It was titled "This Is the Way" series from The Mandalorian, and I was like, wow, that was incredible.
Oh, thank you. That's one of my favorite series that I've worked on, actually. I love using bulk color, and I've always been very fascinated with the helmeted characters in Star Wars. There's just something about the idea of they put the helmets on and they become someone else or something else. So I really enjoyed that series that I did for the gallery. I also did like a personal section of that as well that you can purchase from the conventions and too. So it extends with Vader and some Stormtroopers.
Oh God. And Kelly, this is off the cuff because I forgot to write this down. But the thing I love was because your colors are like, they're two-tone colors that you sometimes use, right? Like they'd be like a darker red and a pink or something. I'm just trying to, but I love the design. I love the colors. That's what makes it work. Yeah.
Sorry, Thank you. Color has definitely been something that I've really focused on a lot in my work and my color theory. Andy Warhol was a really big inspiration for me. I loved how he uses bold colors together. A lot of mid-century design in one way or the other, be it Disney illustrators and the work that came out of Disney's development section in the 60s, as well as Andy Warhol. And even from my graphic design days, I felt I was always very drawn to that mid-century 60s aesthetic. So the flat bold colors from that was something that's always really inspired me, as well as the shape language that came.
Thank you very much. And then I'm going to go over some of Matt's previous works. Matt, you've done self-image from Image Comics. You've had a very successful run on the Power Rangers from Boom Studios, and of course, you're. And then I'm trying to say this correctly because I'm going to say I don't know when this interview will drop, but the recent Inferno Girl Red Book 1 and 2 Kickstarter. I've backed the first one. I'm going to let listeners know I backed the first one when it came out 2 years ago, and I just backed the second one, and I can't wait for the second one. Yes.
Appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, it's good to be chatting with you again after having that big conversation about IGL last time.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to say, Matt, I'm going to ask you, and Kelly, do you guys want to, was there anything that I missed or anything you guys want to let listeners focus on, any of your other works or anything?
I think that's pretty much me. Illustration and excitement. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, there's some small things, but I think Inferno Girl Red and Bad Blood are the big ones at the moment. They're what I'm focusing on. So yeah.
All right. Now, before we begin the interview, I want to give a big shout out to Hannah Bahedri of Superfan Promotions for setting up this interview. Hannah, thank you very much for doing this. Kelly and Matt, I'm going to ask, would you like to add anything to that?
A big thank you to Hannah and David for putting into this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, also to listeners, I got some of my information from Fan-Based Press article titled Fan-Based Press Interviews Matt Groom on his return to Kickstarter for Inferno Girl Red Book 2 and much more. That's the title of the article. The interview was written and done by a friend of the podcast, Barbara Dillon. That article came out August 30th of this year, 2023. So if you get a chance, please check out that cool interview. All right. So Kelly, I'm going to start off the question with you because since I talked about, this is the part where you can promote your website and your social platforms.
You can find me at KMMCM Draws on pretty much every social platform. I'm on all the ones we're supposed to have: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, back in the day. Yeah.
And then Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I'm Matthew Groom on Twitter, 1T in Matthew, GROOM in Groom. And my website is macroom.com, which has a reasonably up-to-date list of all the stuff that I'm working on.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to sort of start jumping into Bad Blood, and the first question I would like to ask you guys, Kelly and Matt, how do you guys know each other?
We met last year at the meetup that the Massiveverse group did before the C2E2 convent in Chicago. So I met Matt and the whole team at that.
Yeah, that was Lockport.
Yeah.
Just outside of Chicago, which is where a lot of Radiant Black is set. So we did a big meetup in a bar that actually explodes, I think, pretty early on in the run of Radiant Black. So it's great to meet up with fans. But yeah, I met up with Kelly there, and because of Kelly does a lot of conventions, and I try, as difficult as it is from Australia. We see each other around a fair bit.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Okay, now Kelly, I'm going to start off with you. May I ask for the listeners, what is Bad Blood about?
So, as Matt and I put it, Bad Blood is a devilish murder mystery in a deck of 52 playing cards. So it is effectively a game that is played alongside of a traditional card game. So it's an extra element to your poker game or your 52 pickup. It invites you to solve the murder of our two main characters, Dee Dumas and Joseph Field. Dee is a thief and Joseph is a journalist who is investigating her murder and unfortunately ends up on the wrong side of that himself. So it's the game component to the playing cards is a journal that Joseph leaves behind that gives players the information that they might need if they happen to find it to potentially solve the murder of Dee. And you can read through the journal and you can look for the clues in the face cards that we have and you can solve the murder, or you can not, and maybe more people turn up dead.
Oh. All right, Matt, I'm going to ask, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, no, I think that was a great summary from Kelly. I think like the important thing was that the focus is on the playing cards. Like, first and foremost, they're just an absolutely gorgeous deck of playing cards you can use for playing whatever, games you want, be it poker or solitaire. But the story that we've built around it is designed to help flesh out those characters so that when you're playing and you see all of the face card characters, they're not like just illustrations, they're bringing to life these characters that you get to know throughout this story as you unpack the murder mystery.
And then, let's see, Kelly, where did you get your idea for this game?
So when I completed Imperium, I really loved how excited people got about the narrative aspect to the cards. I had built out this big backstory about each of the characters that I designed, and I really loved how much people got invested in that. And I wanted to recreate that in a way that the story tied in a little bit closer to the designs. And I was looking over a favorite childhood book of mine called The 11th Hour by Base. And it is this beautiful picture book by this Australian illustrator where you have to work out which of the characters, they're all different animals, was invited to a banquet and who ate the banquet before everybody got into the Great Hall to start the party. And there are clues throughout every illustration. The magnets on the fridge rearrange, and you get clues in that. There's clues in like the gate details, and at the end of it, you can work out which of the animals ate the banquet. And at the back of the book, it was sealed, and they take you through all of the information. I remember as a child being so captivated by this and spend hours trying to work it out before I would let my dad unseal the back of it and we could find out who did it. And I saw that book on my bookcase and I thought clues in story through the images, and the idea evolved out of that.
Wow, that's great. That is very good. And I'm also going to mention too, because it sounded like it planted the seed there. That
Yes.
book that you love, it planted the seed. But also too, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that you mentioned in the press release that you've also quote unquote been enthralled by the mystery genre from TV, film. Also too, you have and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of have a little bit of a love of the styles of the 1920s.
Yes. I've always loved the 20s in its aesthetic. It's so decadent, and especially from a design perspective, all the pattern work and the lines in a lot of the Avo and Deco style things absolutely stunning. So I've always been enthralled with that. But murder mysteries or mysteries and thrillers have always been stories that captivate me. It's just, as much as it's nice to sit down and read a book or watch a movie where you just kind of go through the motions, I've always loved this idea of like trying to work out what's happening, trying to be like one step ahead. It's even got, I'm not a horror person at all, but I remember watching the movie Saw and like wincing my way through that. It was just not for me.
Yeah.
And then they give you the twist at the end of it. And I just thought to myself, my gosh, this is one of the best things I've ever seen, despite the fact that I watched most of it with my eyes closed. So it's just, it's always been a genre that captivates me and I find it so clever. I remember as a kid, like even Scooby-Doo would be fun. Like you'd sit down as a really little kid and just like, I want to know who did it. I want to work it out. Like there's something about piecing it together, like, and even like some newer tales like the Sherlock Holmes movies that came out with Robert Downey Jr. or something that like got me very excited again about that genre, as well as the new like Knives Out and Glass Onion. It's always been something that's called back to me. I just enjoy that challenge sometimes when you're watching something, and it just I think it immerses you in the media a little bit more than normal, or it does for me anyway. So it's something that I've always really enjoyed sort of partaking in.
I'm going to ask, do you have a favorite mystery crime novel or noir movie? You have one that's one of your top favorites?
I've always loved Sherlock Holmes. Just he's so flamboyant and so on the twists and turns in that, and just his personality has always been something that's really pulled me in. So I've always loved watching different iterations of that character be brought to life.
And then Matt, I'm going to ask, how did you get involved with the campaign or the project?
It was really just that Kelly reached out and had so much of this was already fully formed by Kelly, like the design and the approach and this desire to have the murder mystery. So when Kelly came to me and sort of pitched this idea of these cards with the murder mystery element, I was intrigued, but I had no idea how to do it, because it's actually a very different sort of thing to do as opposed to what you normally do in a narrative form like comics. And I think if anything, I was just really excited to work with Kelly because I love her art. It's so good. But I was also really excited by the challenge. I wanted to figure out how to tell a story in this form. And I've always just loved finding different approaches to telling stories and new forms. I think it's really important to stretch your muscles in different ways. So it was a cool opportunity to do that alongside some gorgeous art.
And then I'm going to ask, do you have a favorite crime or noir movie or book?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kelly already mentioned this, but the Glass Onion, Knives Out, the Rian Johnson's murder mystery movies are so good. And I think they're films I had in my head when we were working through this and developing them, because I think that one of the great joys of the mystery genre is that it gives you a lot of runway to invest a lot in all of your minor characters. Normally, minor characters in stories will just pass through, serve one purpose, and then keep going. But because of the nature of the murder mystery genre, it invites you to interrogate all of the small details about characters that may not be central to the main plot. And I think that those two movies, and hopefully there'll be many more by Rian Johnson, they take advantage of that spotlight to create the most fully formed, eccentric, entertaining characters. And I sort of wanted to it's a very high bar, but trying to approach that of let's try and have all of these characters feel as unique and feel like they have their own little world going on. Then they all just happen to be crossing paths because of the event of this particular story. So yeah, big inspiration there.
That sounds pretty cool. I'm going to start with you, Matt. We've already talked about Kelly's already mentioned Dee, Joseph, and Kelly, please feel free to jump in. This isn't just, and please feel free to, even if you guys want to talk amongst yourself. Oh yeah, remember when we tried to do this? That's fine. It's not one of these. You have to wait for the question to be asked. So, but Matt, I'm going to ask you, who are the other characters in the games? Are there other characters, I should ask?
Yeah, I mean, we have a bunch. We have all of our face card characters. So there's 3 for each suit. We've got our King, Queen, and Jack, and they all represent a different part of the city. So the hearts are the Unspoken, our assassin syndicate. The spades are the Monty family, our organized crime family. There's City Hall, which are the diamonds. And then for the clubs, there's operators of a speakeasy called the Broken Promise. And all of the 3 people within that organization play key roles within those organizations. And then outside of that, we have 2 very important characters. One is our victim, Dee Dumas, who was a thief that was murdered. And then there's Joseph Field, who was a journalist who was investigating all of this, whose diary you find. And it's his diary, along with the card art, that you'll use to get to the bottom of all of this.
Kelly, I'm going to add, do you want to add anything else, a little bit more background to any of the characters, or to say
each character kind of has their own little quirks as well that we've put into this. I don't want to spoil it too much for people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I've been sharing some small snippets on social media of like each character as we're releasing them, each character's just little quirks about them and how they might be tied to this murder mystery. So yeah, it's been really fun designing them all out and investing, as Matt said, you know, all of a sudden these small details about each character become really important. So it's really fun to sort of sit there and think about as I'm designing them, like, you know, who are they beyond even just this, and like what, you know, why are they wearing what they're wearing, and like we've got one opportunity in like a waist up kind of reflection to get that across. So I do love the challenge of designing playing cards in that respect and trying to bring across personality in such a small space. So it's, yeah, all around, I think that murder mystery concept, that thriller, gives you a chance to really invest in what you're working on, which is exciting because you don't always get to do that with design work.
Yes. I'm going to tweak one of the questions because Kelly, that was a great segue to another question I was going to ask you about the character designs, but I'm going to tweak it a little bit more. Do you have your character designs, do you have like some type of a notebook where, you know, you design it and you design like maybe, okay, this is what the speakeasy looks like, but we know, you know, it's not going to be in the cards, but at least for you, it's the real world for them in that world. Do you have something like that?
I'm a big mood boarder. Coming out of a graphic design background, I love a mood board. So I have mood boards for the spaces that are there, for the general look and feel of the city. I mood board out each character as well, and I will write down really small details about them. Some things that are in Matt's notes, other things that I just kind of tack onto it because it will sort of spark an idea, and I think like, okay, well, maybe that's relevant to this character. Maybe that's why, you know, they're wearing a tight fitting shirt instead of a loose fitting shirt. Like, you know, maybe they roll their sleeves, maybe they don't. All these little small details when it comes to designing characters in this one frame that we get, it all becomes really important to portray their personality.
Yes. Oh, okay. And then Matt, this is an off the cuff question. Did Kelly share some of you the backgrounds of some of these characters that, I mean, you can't include it into the journal because then it'll be some huge long novel or something. But, you know, did she share any of that with you to give you this is like a fully lived world?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of conversations very early on just about the nature of the world and how all of these characters interact. And I think that's one of the most fun and interesting parts of all of this is you have all of these, you know, individual characters who are pieces of the narrative. But then as you start putting them all together, you think about the relationships that they'll all have. And then that starts changing and influencing who they are. So even though the sort of inner workings of this city that we have, there's a lot of corruption there. That means that the crime syndicate is going to have something of a relationship with the police, and this speakeasy where everyone gathers is technically illegal, but it's sort of respected by everybody, and the people who run it will have very specific relationships with different groups of people in the city. So as you start understanding how all of these people relate to each other, you get a sense of how they would have to operate as people and what would be required for them to survive in this dangerous place. And then that again informs the characters. So it's this very, very fun iterative process of starting out with pieces that sort of go on the board, but the more you think about them and the more you write for them, the more they become real and they start changing each other, and it just feels more and more organic.
It becomes very organic, like even whereas, like as Matt saying, like I'll start to design a character and then there'll be something we've got about it, and I think, okay, could we take this further or do we pull it back? Do we need to flesh out this aspect of their personality a little bit more in it? Like what's going to make them unique and tell their story and it fit into this world and connect the story, the design, and then the game all together. So it's been a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle and like moving pieces around, trying to get everything to interact with each other properly.
I think that part has been a lot like working in comics, where it is like that back and forth collaboration where, you know, Kelly will do a little bit and then I'll work off that a little bit. and then that'll inform the illustrations a little bit, and then I'll see the illustrations, and that'll change my perception of the character,
Yes.
and want to change the character to sort of match that better. You sort of go back and forth until you find the most sort of organic and robust version of each of the characters in this world.
And then, Kelly, I'm going to ask you this question. It's like, how did, how did you guys decide to make this into a card game? Instead of because sometimes you know how some of these mystery games is usually a board game. How did that come about?
Because I'd already designed the Imperium deck,
yes.
I wanted to have a go at doing another deck of cards. So that sort of informed how I was going to approach this. And when I was, as I said before, when I was thinking about the idea of like building a narrative that works closely with the card designs,
yes,
that whodunit concept kind of popped into my head, and I was like, people love a murder mystery. I love a murder mystery. And I thought to myself, like, well, it came back to the Graham Base novel, and I sort of thought about it all, and I was like, yeah, I could do this with playing cards. I had entertained the idea of maybe designing like a board game, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I necessarily have the skills for that, and I don't know anybody that is a board game designer, but I've done this once with the playing cards, and I really had a lot of fun. And I just watching people get so excited about this narrative component to these decks of cards, I thought, yeah, you know what, let's do this. Let's see if we can get this to work. And like, I knew exactly how I knew I wanted the narrative, and I knew I wanted the narrative to tie to the cards. The tricky bit for me was I wasn't really sure how to get the narrative to tie to the cards. And then Matt came on and he fixed that. That was his idea. Yeah. So
I didn't know at the start either, to be honest.
And I sat down with Matt and I was like, I have this idea. I don't know how they link. He was like, okay. Neither do I. Well, yeah, we'll walk away, think about it, and come back. And lo and behold, a few days later, Matt was like, I think I fixed it. And and I was like, yes, this is perfect. So I hadn't quite connected the dots yet. So.
And then Matt, I'm going to ask, do you want to add anything to that part? Like, how did you were able to tie it together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just about like all of the pieces were there. Like Kelly had this like the world and the approach and the style, and like I think the idea of it was spot on. I think what we ended up doing was going back to sort of the foundations of the mystery genre. And as a reader of like a whodunit mystery, you'll know that like you want to find out the means and the motive and the opportunity are sort of like the very key big factors. So figuring out how we can layer those through both the card art and the idea of this journal that we came up with. And once we sort of had that established, it was a lot easier to figure out, okay, how do we put all of the right clues in? How do we give you some clues that might, end up being dead ends but take you down interesting paths? And it became something a little closer to game design in that way rather than just typical writing. And you sort of like figure out that structure, figure out the answer to the mystery and all of the paths that you'll be led down. And then from there, you can start building in the texture and adding in all of the flavor and the world building and the design that might not necessarily contribute directly to the playing of the game, but will still, it'll make the whole experience and the journey worthwhile.
Okay. The next set of questions are kind of be like a little process questions.
Yeah.
So Kelly, I'm going to ask you, so like how many players can play this game?
So the game's designed to be played with the traditional card game you're playing. So as I said, be it Snap or Poker, Solitaire, the idea came with, the way a murder mystery or a mystery is told is like traditionally, that for me always the bit that I'm so impressed with is how they reveal the information to you. That's obviously a big part of it. So how the information is revealed to you will obviously change every time you shuffle the deck and play a different game. So you will read the journal, and then the clues will be dealt out during the card game you're playing. So essentially, as many people can play the game as there is allowed to play in the traditional card game that you're playing. So I guess an infinite number.
No, okay,
But yeah, it's it just depends on what you're playing with it. But I really liked how it tied the idea of revealing cards tied into the way mysteries are sort of put together.
Oh my God, that's no, because because I want to make sure I got this right. Because you mentioned that like, because let's say if I do back this Kickstarter,
Yeah.
but I want to play it as because usually I just, my wife's not a card player, but but I play solitaire, so I could play the game myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You play it on your own. Yeah. I mean, you can also. Oh, you go back. I was going to say you can essentially shuffle the cards and deal them out and have a look through them.
That's one of the things that like appeal to me most, almost unfortunately, is I don't have many opportunities to play games in person with friends. And having this game that I can get on Kickstarter and just play by myself if I want to, and then also have the just cards really appealed, because so often I see cool board games and things on Kickstarter and I think that's really cool, but when am I ever going to get 4 people around in person to do this? So you have that flexibility. If you want to do it in a group, you absolutely can, but if you just want to do it by yourself, you can do that as well.
That's so cool. That is really cool. Can is the game designed for a targeted audience? Like, are we looking at teens to adults, or?
I suppose there's a murder mystery concept to it, so maybe teens and above, but it can also just act on its own as a 1920s embellished deck of cards as well. So
okay,
yeah, absolutely. I think that like yes, there's definitely murder involved, but it's not like you see the murder happens in person. So I don't think there's like a lot of age concerns. I think perhaps the unpacking the murder mystery element might be a little complex for, say, like small children.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I think it's very, very welcoming.
Oh, okay. Now I'm joking on this part. Since this is called Bad Blood, do you guys have any rules, like what happens if someone is caught cheating during the card game? You guys have a rule. I mean, like.
I think we've built anything in mechanically, but maybe that's something we'll need to do before we finish it off.
I know we can add that in.
We'll have to come up with something cool,
Yeah.
like drinking game kind of rules.
Yeah.
You know, If you do something wrong, we'll add some dire alcohol related consequences.
A King's Cup aspect.
Yes, absolutely. I think as Australians, we have a patriotic duty
we do
include a slightly unhealthy alcohol related element to all of this.
I think it would be unpatriotic of it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kelly and Matt, I want both of you guys to answer this question. Well, whoever starts off. Are you guys, because Kelly, like you mentioned that you're a mystery fan, you love the 20s. Are you hoping that some of the fans that back this Kickstarter, when they, when the campaign ends, like very successful campaign ends, are you hoping that you would hear like little groups of people, like, dress up in like 1920 style clothing and play the game?
Of course.
Yeah.
As Oscar Wilde says, one can never be overdressed or overeducated. So I feel like if you can put on a 1920s frock and sit down and play some cards and have a good drink for the night, sounds like a fantastic night to me.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to start asking about stretch goals. I'm going to start with you, Kelly. What kind of stretch goal rewards do you guys have?
So we're building all of this out at the moment, but it is looking as though one of the stretch goals that we're going to put in place are embellishments on the journal itself and on the decks of cards. So I would love to be able to get the cards to be gold gilded, gold edged, have foil embellishments on them. And I'm very excited. I found a printer who can do a leather-bound journal for us as well. So that is one of the Kickstarter goals that I have in place at the moment. I love like tactile things, and the idea of the journal looking like a real journal really excites me. So I've pushed that direction for the goals this time, as opposed to adding different elements to it. Yeah.
And then Matt, I'm gonna add this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to make sure I got this correct. Now, I got my information from the fan-based article. Now, if someone backs the Inferno Girl Red book to Kickstarter at the physical reward level, and they back the Bad Blood campaign, now they will receive an exclusive IGR holographic print done by Kelly. Is that correct, Matt?
That's exactly right, and it's very cool. It's kind of inspired by Bad Blood in some ways, in that it kind of mimics the card style. And it's got just seeing Cassia and Inferno Go Red in Kelly's style is great. So yeah, if you got to back at the physical level for IGR, and also back Bad Blood using the same Kickstarter account. Importantly, when we end up fulfilling Inferno Go Red, we'll be sending out that print that will be holographic, out to everybody who does both, which I think it's such a cool way to tie the two campaigns together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, and Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, the fan-based press article has a picture of it.
Yes.
I think, yeah, it's very nice.
People aren't going to be able to see this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's very cool. We're actually going to have up quite soon some photos of what Kelly is showing right now via video, which is that print with the holographic effect on it. Which is, it's so cool.
I was very excited to get to do it. I remember the first time I read Inferno Go Red, and I just fell in love with the world that the team had built out, Matt had built, and the characters. It was really beautiful. So I felt very, very honored to be able to do my iteration of it.
Oh, thank you. Nice. Matt, I'm going to start off with you. Do you want to give any shout outs to if there's any other members that help with the Bad Blood campaign? Is there anyone else you guys want to give shout outs to?
I mean, we have the folks at Super Fan PR, which actually already gave a shout out to. There's Hannah over there and David as well, who have been helping us promote both Bad Blood and Inferno Go Red, which has been absolutely fantastic. They're such hard workers and clever people. But I'm not sure, Kelly. Is there anybody else?
We do have a little surprise that will be launching probably in a week or so. But all I'm going to say is I want to give a really big shout out to Nicoletta, who is fantastic. And you'll find out a bit more about that later.
Yes, definitely, yeah. Because yes, I'm kind of thinking we probably release this interview probably close to the launch date, when the campaign starts. So yeah, that'd be great. Let's see. Before I start wrapping up on the Bad Blood section, Kelly, have you toyed around with the idea of turning Bad Blood into like a graphic novel or a comic or a limited comic book series?
I would absolutely love to do that. In fact, we would love to do that.
Okay, all right.
And I hope we can. That's all I'm
saying. Yeah, I think there's natural synergies that a person could infer from all of this, and given our skill sets and our passions,
But no, it would be very, very fun to see the whole world come to life in that way. Matt's really built out this very fun mystery and some very fun characters, and I would love to see the interactions I have in my head from just what we've done and how these characters all work together and how the world pieces together. It would be really exciting to sort of see that come to life.
I'm gonna speak theoretically. I know nobody can see the quotes that I'm doing right now, but Kelly, if you have the opportunity, would you look at trying to do some illustrations or work on the book?
I'm the graphic designer, and me would most definitely do the layout. I'm not so much a traditional illustrator. If we were to do something like that, I would definitely bring somebody on board who wields that skill set on a daily basis. I'm definitely much more of a designer, designer illustrator than I am a storyteller perspective. I really do tip my hat to comic illustrators. I feel like they really can't not be good at anything. There's no angle they can't not be able to draw, or it always amazes me when I flip through graphic novels and I look at the level of skill these people have. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And some of them can just do it off the top of their head. They're not necessarily using references for every image or every pose, and I'm really so impressed by that. Like, it's so exciting to see people watching videos of people like bringing it all together. And
Kelly, thank you very much. All right, so the final question before I start moving on, Kelly, what happens if someone misses out on this Kickstarter? Is there a website that they can go to pre-order after the campaign is fulfilled?
Yes, so just after the campaign closes, I'll be at New York Comic Con, and then after New York Comic Con, my store will go live again. It is kellymcmahondesign.com, and you'll be able to pre-order the journal and the deck, and all of the add-ons that we have through.
Matt, I'm just asking, will you be having this also on your website too later on?
No, Kelly will be the one-stop shop for all of this stuff. Yeah.
All right. No, thank you very much. Okay. All right. I'm slowly wrapping things up. Actually, because Matt, I'm gonna ask you this question because we ran out of time the last time. Or correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if I did. What was your favorite convention moment? Either as a creator or as a fan?
Oh man, there's so many. I value conventions so highly. I think being from Australia and sort of being what feels like cut off from the rest of the comics community a lot of the time, that when I have those rare opportunities to do it, it's I think perhaps one of the greatest ones, and not just because I got to meet Kelly, was the big Massiverse meetup that we had the night before C2E2 in Lockport, and having that's what those things where Kyle Higgins, the writer of Radiant Black, organized it, and you never know how things like that are going to go, right? Like you say, we're going to meet up and we'll see how many people turn up. And because Lockport's a decent drive outside of Chicago, I'm not sure what Kyle's expecting actually, but in the back of my head, I was like, we're going to get like 5 people, 10 people, but it was absolutely huge. This bar was over like 4 levels and it was just packed with people, and getting to hang out in that more informal context and sign stuff for people and answer questions and just hang out. There was a fire twirler there for some reason that I never quite figured out. It was just
I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Tied for Rogue Sun. There we go. It was just an incredible night. So yeah, I always remember that one.
Kelly, what about you? What was your favorite convention moment, either as a creator or a fan?
I've been lucky enough to have quite a few really beautiful moments and exciting moments, from panels to really nice engagements with fans. But one thing I really do love is the community aspect. There's something so lovely about being able to go into a hall full of people who are doing really similar things to you, and get excited about projects that other people are working on, and have people get excited about what you're doing. And just there's something so validating about having someone pick up what you're working on and get excited about it in front of you. It's not something that you get to see often as a creator. The internet is, it's likes and comments, they do stack up and you do appreciate them, but there's nothing quite as special as having somebody stand in front and say, wow, I love this. And it's just a really, really lovely thing. And it's so nice to connect with other people that are doing what we're doing. It can be a lonely job at times. You spend a lot of time on your own working through ideas, and you can occasionally get to jump on a Zoom and nut some things out with people, but there's just something so special about that community.
Kelly, I know you mentioned your next convention appearance is going to be New York Comic Con. Do you have any other conventions lined up for the rest of the year or anything?
I will be before New York Comic Con. I'll be at Anime, and then after New York Comic Con, I believe I'm at Galaxy Cos, and potentially one other in there that I can't remember, but they are all listed on.
Okay. And then Matt, what about you?
I'm hoping to get to New York Comic Con. Despite how close it is still a little up in the air. Depends how things go financially. I'm going to do a bit of a dig around in my couch and see if I can find any $1 and $2 coins that, if I push them all together, might amount to a plane fare. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you all at New York Comic Con if people are going to that.
Oh, that'd be nice. Okay. 2 more questions because Matt, I've already asked you this question already. I'm going to ask Kelly. Kelly, have you and your family been to Hawaii?
I have never been to Hawaii. It is on my list of places to see. I'm going to be very, very basic here and tell you that I've admired the Disney hotel that they have there. I'm such a Disney fan, and I would really love to go and see that as much as I would also love to see all of the wonders and beauty that Hawaii has to offer. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know.
Okay. All right. Kelly, I'm going to start off with you on this question. Any closing words to our listeners?
Thank you so much for listening in on this, and I hope you guys can get behind Bad Blood. We've worked really hard on it, and I'm just really, really excited to put it into the
Matt, I'm going to ask any closing words to our listeners.
Yeah, I really hope people check out Bad Blood. I think it's very exciting to try new things, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about Kickstarter is you get to experiment with the form. It's not just about what will succeed in certain commercial outlets. You can take a very strange but hopefully very exciting idea or something very novel like this and see who it's going to resonate with. And I suspect that it's going to be very exciting for a bunch of people. I think it's a really cool intersection of a bunch of different interests and styles. So if any part of it sounds interesting, I hope you'll come check out the Kickstarter campaign and see if we can draw you into our wider world.
I would also like to add that I hope everyone will, because it is absolutely stunning and the first book is just so beautiful. Yeah.
Kelly, I agree with you. I have the first book. Oh, that oversized book. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's very cinematic.
Yeah. And to get the second of that would just be so wonderful.
Kelly, Matt, mahalo. Thank you in Hawaiian for your time and giving me an opportunity to interview. Actually, Matt, thank you for giving me another opportunity to interview you again. Thank you very much.
No, it's good to chat to you, Jason. Always.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you guys all the success with the Bad Blood Kickstarter campaign. I want to thank Hannah of Superfan Promotions for setting up this interview. Hannah, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. Now, if you are a new comic book reader who loves these murder mysteries or someone who loves to get together with their family and friends and play games, please check out the Bad Blood Kickstarter campaign. It goes live on September 19th and ends on October 19th. What I love about this, Kelly, because you mentioned it during the interview that what I love the idea is that you turn playing cards into an immersive game that it's just solving clues. It adds a different dimension to card play. I really think that's great.
Thank you.
And the other thing, or what I really love too, is that it's either an individual who does solitary can play by themselves, or if they want to have 4 or 5 friends over and they can play poker, and then it adds an extra level to that as well too, and also it kind of it's also kind of and it kind of, and I have to say it kind of adds a little bit more of fun and excitement to it, because if someone who loves playing poker, they bet real money, they're drinking, this is going to add a little bit more fun and excitement to it. Yeah.
That's definitely.
So, and also to Kelly and Matt, I'm being serious to our listener. I'm being serious. So listeners, if you don't know what to get your friend or family member, that who loves murder mysteries and likes to play card games and stuff, please consider backing this Kickstarter and giving them this unique gift for either as a birthday present or as a Christmas present, because it sounds great. It really, to me, it does. I want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Kyle, I've got the solution to our dreary evenings. We can we can pop a little Magic Mind and get a little pick me up and still go to sleep, just enough to give us some clarity of mind, a little creativity, get the creative juices flowing, maybe give you one or two before the podcast, to really focus you in. What do you think of that?
You fall asleep during one podcast, and all of a sudden that's your problem.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, absolutely. The worst thing you want to do is, brew a pot of coffee at middle of the night right before a podcast.
Yeah.
Then you're up the entire evening. What you need is good, sustained energy, clarity of mind, not, a jolt of caffeine that hurts your body and all these things. Absolutely. And Magic Mind does all that stuff and has that, matcha. I want to talk about matcha, Drew.
Okay. All right.
The green vegetable matcha, that buzzword, that superfood. I didn't think I'd like matcha. I am starting to like matcha, and that's one of the big key ingredients here is that lovely green superfood that has the benefits of all the keeping you goings.
Yeah. And it's cool stuff. It's pricey. Matcha is, but they stick it in this with some great other ingredients, all natural stuff. But you can get it through us with our code. So we want you to check out this Magic Mind elixir. Check this out. Go to magicmind.co/comicsfunprofit.
And elixir really is the perfect word for it. It's a nice little elixir. It's very cool. For sure.
If you feel you want to try this out, go to magicmind.co/comicsfunprofit and use our code. You can get 20% off of an initial one-time purchase or up to 56% off of a subscription. So if this sounds good to you, go to magicmind.co/comicsfunprofit and use our code CFP. You can get up to 56% off your subscription for the next 10 days with the code CFP, or you can just use that discount code CFP at magicmind.co/comicsfunprofit to get 20% off a one-time purchase. Just to sample, dip your toe, check it out.